Stone Butch Blues, Chapter 4. The note sailed across my desk and glided onto the floor. I kept an eye on Miss Rondinto while I bent over and picked it up. Luckily, she didn't seem to notice. Danger. My parents want to know why your parents call our house looking for you. I can't cover for you anymore. Please forgive me. Love until eternity. Your enduring friend, Barbara. I looked up and caught Barbara's eye. She wrung her hands and made a face that begged forgiveness. I smiled and nodded. I mimed smoking a cigarette. Barbara nodded and smiled. She made me feel warm inside. Barbara, the girl I'd sat next to in homeroom for 2 years. Barbara, the girl who told me that if I were a guy, she'd be in love with me. We met in the girls' bathroom. 2 of the juniors who were smoking had already opened the window. "Where have you been lately?" Barbara demanded to know. "Working like crazy. I've got to get out of my parents' house or I'm going to die. They act like they hate my guts." I took a deep drag of my cigarette. "I think they wish I was never born." Barbara looked frightened. "Don't say that," she told me, then glanced around as if someone might hear. She took a drag of smoke into her mouth and let it trickle out as she inhaled it through her nose. "Isn't that wild? It's called a French curl. Kevin showed me." "Oh shit," someone hissed. "All right, girls, line up." It was Miss Antoinette, the scourge of girls who longed for nicotine. She ordered us to line up so she could smell our breath. Since he hadn't already seen me, I took a chance and slipped out the door. The halls were deserted. Within minutes, a maddening bell would ring and the halls would be jammed with kids, using their notebooks in front of them like a shield in battle. I guess the summer had changed me. Otherwise, I would never have snapped the iron bands of habit and left the building during school hours. I wanted to run around the track as fast as I could, to sweat out the sticky sensation of imprisonment. But the boys were in football practice in the middle of the field, and a group of girls were trying out for cheerleading, so I climbed up on the bleachers and walked to the far end. A red-tailed hawk glided above the trees, an unusual sight in the city. There was no place to go. There was nothing to do. Whatever was going to happen in my life, I wanted it to hurry up. I wished I could play quarterback on the football team. I could imagine the weight of the equipment and the uniform tied across my chest. I put my hand against my large breasts. I noticed that 5 of the 8 girls trying out as cheerleaders were blonde. I didn't know that there were 5 blondes in the whole school. Almost half the school was white, Jewish, and middle class. The other half was African American and working class. My family was Jewish and working class. I fell into a lonely social abyss. The few friends I had in the school were from families who worked to make ends meet. I watched the cheerleaders leave the field. They looked over their shoulder to see if the boys would notice. Football practice ended. Some of the white boys stayed on the field. One of them, Bobby, nodded towards me with his head. I got up to leave. "Where are you going, Jess?" He mocked me, then headed towards me. Several boys followed him. I started to hurry across the bleachers. "Where are you going, Jesse?" They followed me as I rushed to get away. He indicated for one of the boys to climb the bleachers in front of me. He and the other boys came directly at me. I leaped over the bleachers and ran into the field. Bobby tackled me. I hit the dirt hard. It all mushroomed so quickly, I couldn't make it stop. "What's the matter, Jess? Don't like us?" Bobby was pushing his hand up under my dress between my legs. I punched and kicked, but he and the other boys pinned me down. "I saw you watching us. Come on. You want it, don't you, Jesse?" I bit the hands nearest my mouth. "Ouch, shit, fuck," the boy yelled and backhanded me across the face. I could taste my own blood. The expression on their faces scared me. These were not kids anymore. I punched Bobby's chest as hard as I could. I must have hit his equipment because I skinned my knuckles, and Bobby just laughed. He pressed his forearm against my throat, and one of the boys stepped on my ankles with his cleats. I struggled and cursed them. They laughed as though this were a game. Bobby unglanced from his uniform pants and jammed his penis into my vagina. The pain traveled up to my belly, scaring the hell out of me. It felt like something ripped deep inside of me. I counted the attack. There were 6. The one I was angriest was with Bill Turley. Everyone knew he tried out for the team because the kids teased him about being a sissy. He scuffed the grass with his cleats and waited for his turn. Part of the nightmare was that it all seemed so matter-of-fact. I couldn't make it stop. I couldn't escape it. so I pretended it wasn't happening. I looked at the sky, at how pale and placid it was. I imagined it was the ocean. The clouds were white-capped waves. Another boy was huffing and puffing on top of me. I recognized him. Jeffrey Darling, an arrogant bully. Jeffrey grabbed my hair and yanked it back so hard I gasped. He wanted me to pay attention to the rape. He fucked me harder. You dirty, and then it says the case lawyer, fucking bull dagger. All my crimes were listed. I was guilty as charged. Is this how men and women have sex? I knew this wasn't making love. This was more like making hate. But this mechanical motion, what all the jokes and dirty magazines and whispers were about, this is it? I giggled, not because what was happening was funny, but because all the fuss about sex suddenly seemed so ridiculous. Jeffrey pulled his cock out of me, and I slapped my face, back and forth. It's not funny, he shouted. It's not funny, you crazy bitch. I heard the sound of a whistle. Shit, it's the coach. Frank Humphrey warned the other guys. Jeffrey jumped up and pulled up his pants. All the boys scattered toward the gym. I was alone on the field. The coach stood a distance away from me, staring. I wobbled up and tried to stand. There were grass stains on my skirt and blood and slimy stuff running down my legs. Get out of here, you little whore, Coach Moriarty ordered. I had to walk the long distance home, since my bus pass wasn't valid this late. I didn't feel like this was my life I was living anymore. It felt like a movie. A 57 Chevy full of boys slowed down. See you tomorrow, Lesbo. I heard Bobby yell as they passed. Was I their property now? If I wasn't strong enough to stop them once, could I ever hope to defend myself again? I ran to the bathroom as soon as I got home, and threw up in the toilet. Between my legs felt like chopping meat, and the shooting pains frightened me. I took a long, long bubble bath and asked my sister to tell my parents I was sick, and went to bed. When I woke up, it was time to go to school, but I couldn't. I wasn't ready. Now, my mother ordered me out of bed. My whole body hurt. I tried not to think about the pain between my legs. My parents didn't seem to notice my split lip or the way I was limping, a little on my ankle. I moved slow as molasses. I couldn't think clearly. Hurry up, my mother scolded. You're going to be late for school. I purposely missed my bus so I could walk to school. At least if I was late, I wouldn't have to face the kids before the bell rang. I forgot everything as I walked. The wind whispered in the trees. Dogs barked and birds chirped. I walked slowly, as though I wasn't on my way to any place in particular. Then the school building loomed over me, a medieval castle, and all the memories flooded back in a sickening rush. Did the kids already know? The way they whispered behind their hands as I passed in the hallways after first period class made me think they did. I thought maybe I was being paranoid until one of the girls cut out, Jess, Bobby, and Jeffrey are looking for you. They all laughed. I felt like what happened was my fault. I ducked into my history class just as the bell rang. Miss Duncan spoke the dreaded words. Class, tear off a half sheet of paper and numbers from 1 to 10. This is a test. Question number 1. What year was the Magna Carta signed? I tried to remember if she'd even taught us what the hell the Magna Carta even was. 10 facts floating in a vacuum. I chewed my pencil and stared at the blank piece of paper in front of me. I raised my hand and asked for a bathroom pass. You can go as soon as you finish the test, Miss Goldberg. Please, Miss Duncan, it's an emergency. Yeah, said Kevin Mullaney. She has to go find Bobby. I heard the guffaws behind me, and I left the classroom in a panic. I ran through the halls looking for someone to help me. I had to talk to someone. I ran upstairs to the cafeteria looking for my friend Carla from gym class. When the bell rang, I saw Carla in the crush of kids going in and at the double doors. Carla, I yelled, I have to talk to you. What's up? I've got to talk to you. We made our way to the lunch line. What are they serving today? Carla asked me. Can you see? Dreck on rice and shit on a shingle. Yum, same as yesterday. And the day before. It was such a relief to laugh with her. We got our trays and winced as the school detonation dumped a glop of something in each of our plates. We picked up cartons of milk and paid for our lunch. Can we talk? I asked her. Sure, she said. How about after lunch? Why not now? Carla looked at me blankly. Can I sit with you? I pressed. She continued to stare. Girl, have you gone out of your cotton-picking mind? I looked confused. There's a seating arrangement here, or haven't you noticed? The moment I said it, I realized it was true. I looked around the lunchroom like I'd never really seen it before. The cafeteria was absolutely right down the middle, segregated. Get the picture, honey? Where have you been? Can I sit with you anyway? Carla tilted her head back and narrowed her eyes at me. It's a free country, she said, and turned on her heels and walked away. Hello, white girl, you new in town? Darnell teased as he moved over to let me sit down next to Carla. I laughed. There was no other sound in this huge room. You could have heard a pin drop. My stomach tightened, and the food in my plate looked more disgusting than usual. Carla, I sat down next to her. I really need to talk to you really bad. Uh-oh, someone whispered out the table. Miss Benson was racing toward our table. Young lady, what are you doing? I took a deep breath. I'm eating lunch, Miss Benson. Everyone at the table tried to stifle a giggle, but the milk sprayed out of Donald's ears. Well, it just couldn't be controlled. Come with me, young lady, Miss Benson told me. Why? I wanted to know. I didn't do anything. She stormed away. That was easy, Darnell said. Too easy, Carla answered. Carla, I really need to talk to you, I told her. Uh-oh, Daryl says. Here comes Jim Crow. Actually, his name was Moriarty. The coach was headed right for me. I was waiting for him to say something to me, but he didn't. He grabbed me by the arms, digging his fingers into my flesh. Moriarty half dragged me to the doors of the cafeteria. You little slut, he whispered. I'll take care of this, coach, Miss Moore. The assistant principal intervened. She put her arm around me and led me out into the hall. Child, she said, you are in a whole lot of trouble. What the hell were you doing? Nothing, Miss Moore. I didn't do anything. I was just trying to talk to Carla. She smiled at me. Sometimes you don't have to do anything wrong to be in hot water. All of my panic and fear welled up in my eyes. I wanted so badly to open up to Miss Moore. Honey, it's not all that bad, she reassured me. I couldn't speak. Are you okay, Jess? Are you in trouble? She looked at my swollen lip. No one else had noticed. Do you want to talk, Jess? I did want to talk, but my mouth wouldn't move. Here's the other troublemaker, Moriarty said. He had Carla in his grip. Miss Moore pulled Carla close to her. I'll take care of this, coach. You go back to being lunch monitor. He looked at her with open hatred. I could see what a racist he was. Come on, girls. Miss Moore put her arms around each of us. I'll explain to the principal that you didn't mean any harm. Carla and I leaned forward and looked at each other. I'm sorry, I told her. I didn't mean any harm. Miss Moore stopped walking. You girls didn't do anything wrong. You came up against an unspoken rule that needs changing. I just want you both to survive it. When the principal, Miss Donato, finally called me into his office, Miss Moore asked if she could come in too. He knitted his thick eyebrows together. I'd prefer if you didn't, Suzanne. Mr. Donato shut the door and monitored for me to sit down. I felt alone in a hostile world. He slumped in his chair and pressed his fingertips together. I looked at the paintings of George Washington on the wall and wondered whether he was wearing a white sheepskin coat or if the painting was never finished. Mr. Donato cleared his throat. I knew he was ready. I have been told you made some trouble in the lunchroom today, young lady. Would you care to explain yourself? I shrugged my shoulders. I didn't do anything. Donato leaned back in his chair. The world is a very complicated place, more complex than you kids realize. Oh God, I thought, here comes the lecture. In some schools there are fights between the colored children and the white students. Did you know that? I shook my head. I'm proud that we have good relations between the races at this school. That's not been easy since the school's district changed. We want to keep things calm, do you understand? I don't know why I can't eat lunch with my friend. We're not fighting. Mr. Donato's jaw clenched. The cafeteria is the way it is because the students are most comfortable with the arrangement. Well, I'm not. I wondered who was controlling my mouth. Mr. Donato slammed his palm on the desk. Miss Moore opened the door. Can I be of help, sir? Get out and shut the door, he shouted at her. He turned back to me and took a deep breath. I want you to understand that what we want is good relation between the students. Then why can't I just eat lunch with my friends? Mr. Donato came over to me and leaned so close I could feel his breath on my face. "Young lady, you listen to me, and you listen good. I'm trying to hold this school together, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let a little troublemaker like you undo all my hard work. Do you understand me?" I blinked as little bits of spit hit my face. "You are suspended for 1 week." "Suspended? For what?" "I wanted to quit anyway," I told him. He smirked. "You can't quit until you're 16. "I can't quit, but you can suspend me?" "That's right, young lady. Miss Moore," Mr. Donato yelled. "This student has been suspended. See that she leaves the building immediately." Miss Moore was standing outside the door. She smiled at me and put her hands on my shoulder. "You okay?" I asked. "Sure," I said. "This will blow over," she assured me. I made a pleading face. "Let me just see Miss Noble and Miss Candy, please. Then I'll go." Miss Moore nodded. I wanted to talk to her so badly, but I felt as though I was standing on a boat that was drifting away from everyone. I said goodbye and walked away. Miss Noble was marking test papers. She looked up as I came in the classroom. "I heard," she said, and continued to correct papers. I sat on top of a desk in front of her. "I came to say goodbye." Miss Noble looked and took off her glasses. "You're quitting school over this?" I shrugged. "They suspended me, but I'm not coming back." "They suspended you? Over the lunchroom incident?" Miss Noble rubbed her eyes and slipped her glasses back on. "Do you think I did something wrong?" She sat back in her chair. "When you do something out of convention, my dear, it should be because you believe it's the right thing to do. If you look for approval from everyone, you'll never be able to act." I felt criticized. "I'm not asking everybody. I was just asking you." I sulked. Miss Noble shook her head. "I just think about coming back. You must go to college." I shrugged. "I'm never going to finish high school. I'm going into the factories." "You need skills, even to be a laborer." I shrugged. "I can't afford college. That's one thing. My parents aren't going to spend a dime on me, or co-sign a loan either." She ran her hand through her hair. I noticed for the first time how gray it was. "What do you want to do with your life?" she asked me. I thought about it. "I want a good job, a union job. I'd really like to get out into the steel plant, or Chevy. I guess it wasn't fair of me to want you to want more." "Like what?" I said, angry, and I was now a disappointment to her too. "I could see you becoming a great American poet, or a fiery labor leader, or discovering the cure for cancer." She took off her glasses and wiped them with a Kleenex. "I wanted you to help change the world." I laughed. She had no idea how powerless I really was. "I can't change anything," I told her. I toyed with telling her what happened on the football field, but I just couldn't find the words to begin. "Do you know what it takes to change the world, Jess?" I shook my head. "You have to figure out what you really believe in, and then find other people who feel the same way. The only thing you have to do alone is to decide what's important to you." I nodded and slid off the desk. "I'd better be going, Miss Noble, before I send a posse to eject me from the school grounds." She stood up and took my face in her hands. She kissed me on the forehead, and for some reason it made me think of how I felt in jail with Al and Mona. About moments when you're being torn away from people you love and you feel real close to them. "Come back and visit," Miss Noble said. "Sure," I lied. I headed toward the gym to say goodbye to Miss Candy. Miss Johnson stopped me in the hallway. "Where's your hall pass, young lady?" "I don't need one anymore. I'm suspended." I sounded cheerful. 1 hour before I felt imprisoned in these halls. Now I was leaving. The school felt smaller. I wandered through the corridors like an alumna. I could hear the off-key strains of John Philip Sousa coming from the auditorium. I had forgotten there was an assembly last period. I guess I didn't need to go. As the bell rang, doors flew open and students flowed into the corridors. I waited for the crowd to thin out before I tried to struggle upstream to the gym. There was no girls' gym when I got there. I took my sneakers and shorts out of my locker and put them on. I started playing on the monkey ropes, climbing up one and then across the other. When I shinnied down, I felt so pent up I was afraid I'd explode. I ran around the indoor track until I almost dropped. As I stopped, I saw Miss Candy looking at me. She had come back to the gym office for something and saw me running. "How long have you been watching me?" She shrugged. "I heard you've been suspended." Do you think I did something wrong, Miss Candy? Even as I said it, I remembered what Miss Noble explained about needing approval. I just don't believe in rocking the boat, that's all, she said, looking away. Wow. I sighed in disappointment. Well, Miss Candy, I just came to say goodbye. I walked past the auto shop. That's the class I wanted. Instead, they'd had me making popovers with lemon sauce in cooking class. How did Miss Noble think I could ever change the world by making popovers? Over the main entrance to the school, the words Optima Fultra were carved in stone. The best is yet to be. I hoped that was true. Hey, Darnell yelled from the second floor detention room. Way to go. I waved to him. Meet us later, he yelled. A teacher pulled him inside and shut the window. Jess, I heard Carla call my name. Jess, wait up. They suspended me, I told her. Me too, she said, for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? They only suspended me for 1. I'm quitting, though. Carla whistled through her teeth. Shit, you sure about that? I nodded. I can't take it anymore. Jess, Carla said, with all that shit that went down, I forgot to ask you what's up. You said you needed to talk. That moment was a turning point in my life. I felt like a dam, ready to burst, but I heard myself say, oh, it wasn't that important. Carla looked concerned. Are you sure? I nodded, feeling the last brick in the wall go up inside of me. They might never come down again. We're going down to Jefferson, Carla said. Want to come? I shook my head and hugged her goodbye. I didn't want to face my parents. I knew they wouldn't be home from work yet. If I hurried, as soon as I got home, I took 2 pillowcases and stuffed all my pants and shirts into them. I reached deep into my closet and pulled out the backpack that contained the tie and jacket Al and Jacqueline had bought for me. The ring, I took it out of my mother's jewelry case and slipped it in my left hand. I hurried, afraid my parents would come home and catch me. I found a piece of paper and a pencil. I was sweating. My hand shook. Dear Mom and Dad, I wrote. What you doing? Rachel asked me. Shh. I continued to write. I got kicked out of school. It's not my fault, in case you care. I'm almost 16. I was going to quit anyway. I have a job and money. I'm leaving. Please don't come after me. I don't want to live here anymore. I didn't know what else to write. They could find me at my job if they wanted, but if there was a chance, they'd be happy to be rid of me, as I'd be relieved to be gone. What you doing? Rachel asked me again. Her lips trembled. Shh, don't cry, I told her. I gave her a hug. I'm running away from home. She shook her head. You can't, she said. I nodded my head. I gotta try. I'm going crazy here. I'll tell, Rachel threatened. I rushed out the door, afraid to be caught by my parents at the last moment. They could use force to bring me back, have me arrested, or commit me to an institution, or they could let me go. I was up to them. I'd learned that. I ran down the street until my lungs ached. When I was blocks away, I leaned up against a lamppost and caught my breath. I felt free to explore what freedom meant. I looked at my watch. It was time to go to work. I was almost 16 years old. I had $37 in my pocket. You're late, my foreman told me as I punched in. Sorry, I said, and I started the machine up right away. Damn, kid, he told Gloria. She kept her head down until he walked away. Then she looked up and smiled. Tough day, Jess? I laughed. I got kicked out of school and ran away from home. She whistled and shook her head. I'd take you home with me, but my husband keeps trying to give away the kids we already got. I asked Eddie if I could work the double. I'll let you know later, he said. At 11 p.m., the work ran out and he sent me home. I tried to sleep, sitting up at the bus station, but the cops kept coming by and asking me to show them my ticket. I bought a ticket for Niagara Falls, but they woke me up every time a bus left for the falls and wanted to know why I wasn't on it. I walked around and ate breakfast and drank coffee and walked around some more. At noon, I went to a movie matinee. When I woke up, I was late for work. Eddie warned me not to be late again. You look like hell, Gloria whispered. Thanks a lot. I started thinking. Hey, Gloria, remember when you told me about that bar your brother went to in Niagara Falls? Gloria tensed. Yeah, so? So does he know any bars like that here in town? She shrugged. It's important, Gloria. Honest to God, I really need to know. Gloria looked nervous. She cleaned her inky hands on her apron, as though she wanted to wipe her hands of the whole topic. At lunchtime, she pressed a piece of paper into my hand. "What's this?" The slip of paper had the words Abba's written on it. I called my brother. I asked him where he goes, and he said he used to go there. I smiled from ear to ear. "Do you know where it is?" "What do I have to do? Drive you there?" "Okay." I pulled my hands in surrender. "Just asking." I called information and got the address. After my shift, I washed up in the bathroom and changed into clean clothes. I looked at the ring on my finger. It fit snugly. I pledged to never take it off. Maybe now it was time for the ring to reveal to me the secrets of surviving my own life. I raced downtown to Abba's and then stood outside, pacing and smoking. I was just as scared to go into this bar as I'd been to enter Tafika's. Only this time I was carrying everything I owned in 2 pillowcases. Where would I go if I was rejected here? I took a deep breath and walked into Abba's. It was real crowded inside, which made me feel anonymous and safe. I squeezed in at the bar. "A ginny," I called out to the bartender. She narrowed her eyes. "Let's see some ID." "They never asked me at Tafika's," I protested. She shrugged. "So go get a beer at Tafika's," she said as she walked away. I hit the bar with my fist. "Having a bad day, kid?" one of the butches at the bar asked me. "A hard day?" My laughter sounded shrill. "I got kicked out of school. I got no place to live, and I'm going to lose my goddamn job if I can't find a place to sleep so I can be on time." She pursed her lips, nodded, and took a swig of her beer. "You can stay at our place for a while if you want," she said casually. "Are you fucking with me?" I demanded. She shook her head. "You need a place to stay? My girlfriend and I have an apartment over our garage. You can stay there if you want. It's up to you." She signed to the bartender. "Meg, get this kid a beer. On me, okay?" We introduced ourselves. "Jess what?" she asked. "Jess, that's my name. Just Jess." She snorted. "Jess. Jess, huh? Well, I'm Jess. Tony." Meg slammed a bottle of beer in front of me. "Thanks for the beer, Tony." I saluted her with the bottle. "Can I move in tonight?" Tony laughed. "Yeah, I guess so, if I'm not too drunk to get the key in the door. Hey, Betty." Tony's girlfriend came out of the bathroom and stood beside her. "Hey, Betty, meet Dondi. This kid's an orphan. Parents died in a flaming car wreck, you know." Tony laughed and took a swig of beer. Betty pulled away from Tony. "That's not funny." I intervened. "Tony said you got a place I could stay. I really need a place to sleep. I mean real bad." Betty looked at Tony, shrugged, and walked away. "It's okay with her," Tony said. "I'm going back to sit with Betty. I'll find you before we leave." I finished my beer and put my head down on the bar. The room was spinning. I wanted to sleep so badly. Meg rapped her knuckles on the bar near my head. "You drunk or something?" "No, I'm just working around the clock." I told her I didn't think she'd liked me, and she brought me another beer. "I didn't order one." "It's on the house," she said. "Go figure." As the crowd started thinning out, I found an empty chair near the noisy back room. I leaned my head against the wall and fell asleep. When I awoke, Betty was tugging on my sleeves, telling me it was time to go home. Tony sang "Roll Me Over the Clover" as Betty tried to get her into the car. I lay down on the back seat and immediately fell asleep. "Come on, wake up," Betty urged me. We were in the driveway. Betty struggled to prop Tony up against the car. "Don't give me 2 problems to deal with," Betty told me curtly. I got out of the car and helped her get Tony upstairs. "You can sleep on the couch tonight," Betty said. "Who's the kid?" Tony demanded to know. "What's this, your new butch?" "You invited the kid to live in the garage apartment, remember?" Betty snapped. I curled up on the couch and tried to disappear. After a while, Betty came out and threw a blanket over me. "If I could just get some sleep tonight, I'll be out of here," I told her. "It's okay," she said wearily. "Don't worry, it'll be all right." I clung to that little bit of reassurance. Laying there in the dark, I started to realize I was on my own. No more school, no more parents, unless they came after me. I gagged on shame as I recalled what happened to me on the football field. I was afraid I was going to throw up. I hadn't asked where the bathroom was. I wish this was Al and Jackie's couch. I wanted to wake up at their home. Then I could tell Jacqueline what had happened to me on the football field. Would I have told her? I realized I might not have told Jackie or Al what the boys did to me. I felt too ashamed. I made a vow to myself before I fell asleep. I promised myself I would never wear a dress again, and I'd never let anyone rape me ever again, no matter what. As it turned out, I could only keep one of those promises.